Hey there, it's Dave Barnett, author of Invest Local and Credit Card Advantage, maintainer and keeper of the investlocalbook.com blog site. Today I wanted to tell the story of the old man in the note, and it's a story that goes back to my business broker days. I had a business for sale, and one of the aspects of this business is that it came with over 100 acres of land. And this usually creates a big problem. And here's why. You only need certain assets within a business to work together to create a cash flow. And if you start to add on assets to the business that don't contribute to the cash flow, what ends up happening is the seller wants to sell his business for more money because of these assets. In this case, 95 acres, let's say, of extra land. It has value. They want to be paid for it. But it's almost impossible for the cash flow of the business to justify the now higher asking price because of these add-on assets that don't actually generate any additional revenue. So it was a bit of a problem, but I eventually found a couple of buyers and actually had some competing bids for this business. And the seller was an older gentleman, and I think he was in his late 70s, maybe 78 or so, and had put everything he had into this business and really had nothing in the way of any sort of retirement savings. He owned his own house. He had a few debts for the business, which were, because it was a small business, they were all personally guaranteed. So found a buyer. I had advised this guy that his business was probably worth about 400 grand at most. He wanted to ask 500. And a couple different people came to make offers, and one person in particular came along and offered like 350 and 350, and wanted the old guy to finance half the price, 100, so a note for 175. And I had advised the seller that, especially because of the extra land, that he could expect for buyers to ask him to finance a good part of the deal. And so the counter offer surprised even me. The old guy countered at, I think it was about 450 with only 100 down. So he basically came back and said, I'll sell the business to you for 450 and I'll finance 350,000 of it over 10 years at 2% interest. Now, it was the first time ever that I had seen a seller come back and voluntarily offer to finance more money than the buyer had initially asked for. Typically what happens is the seller comes back wanting a higher price and wanting to finance less of the deal. They want more money at closing. This guy came back with a higher price, but he also offered to finance much more of the deal. But the interest rate was incredibly low. Most seller financing notes that I've handled anyway on business sale transactions were, in the 6 up to 10 or 12% range, depending on the circumstances. So the buyer said to me, Dave, the most I was willing to go on this business was 400, but I can't borrow money anywhere at that rate, at 2%. So I'm going to go ahead and take the offer anyway and buy the business. And they did. So the deal was closed, and the seller got his 100 grand on closing and then a note for 10 years with the payments. And after the deal was done, the seller said to me, "Boy, did I ever do well on that deal." And I said, tell me, what are you thinking? I mean, I've never seen someone come back with an offer like that. And what he said to me is, he said, "Dave, I just got 2% on 350 grand over 10 years. Principal and interest is going to be more than enough money for me to live on. I don't expect to live for another full 10 years. And if I had sold the business all for cash, the bank was going to give me less than 1%. So basically what the guy had done is he had turned his business into a retirement annuity. And it helped to show me that you never know what kind of deal you're going to end up with. And things truly can be win-win. I mean, in this case, the buyer got access to capital at a much lower rate than he would normally have. Even though he ended up having to pay a little bit more for the business than he wanted to, the low interest rate made sense for him. And the seller was able to get what he wanted, which was retirement income, and earn a much higher rate of return than the bank would have given him. And in his mind, there was little risk because the value of the tangible assets in the business was substantial. There was all the land, the buildings, the equipment, so he wasn't worried about being in second position behind a bank. The 100 grand that the buyer put down was borrowed from a bank. He did have money of his own, but all of that money went into improving things. He bought new delivery vehicles, and he upgraded equipment, etc. So the value of the collateral, the assets, had gone up because of the investments of the buyer. Anyway, if you want to learn more about private investment deals, local lending, small business buying and selling, follow my blog site, follow my YouTube channel. Please share and like the videos if you enjoy them. And go to investlocalbook.com, buy my book, Invest Local, or look for it on Amazon. Thanks. Have a great day.